Hey, what's up everyone, I'm Andrew, and in this video I'm going to build some sort of gaming PC, but it costs less than 100 euros. And this is what I found first: a Gigabyte AB350 Gaming 3 motherboard. And the motherboard comes with the AMD Ryzen 5 1600 CPU and 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM. Also got a used 500 watt deep cool power supply, an AMD Radeon RX 480 with 4 gigs of video memory. Now I'm going to start with cleaning and a little explanation about all these PC components. It was a little bit hard challenge and I need almost 2 months to find and collect all the parts. Actually, a friend asked me to build something that is okay. I mean, not bad, but not something great, but for as less as possible. But the patience is always good. The motherboard, the CPU and the RAM, I got it for 30 euros. It was a little bit suspicious about the motherboard. There is no CMOS battery and the CPU was a little bit scratched. Also, everything was coming in a box and pretty complete. I went to the seller and he tested the motherboard with the CPU and the RAM in front of me, and all was fine. I asked him why he was selling these parts so cheap, and the answer was that he sold hardware before and built computers, but now he started another business and he just want to get rid of all the stuff. Also invest the money in a new super powerful computer and his new business. Mostly he had old stuff, like first and some second generation AMD Ryzen and older Intel motherboards, CPUs and some graphic cards. While chatting about computers, I asked him about some power supply and some graphic card. Then he offered the power supply that I got and the AMD Radeon RX 480. Actually, there are many other better options, but I chose these parts because were the cheapest ones. After I shine up the whole motherboard, I mounted 512 gigs M2 SSD. This SSD was left from a PC that I made upgrades before. Usually I do not charge for making upgrades, cleaning and etc. I mean, people that I know will bring upgrade parts and all, and I will just clean, upgrade, setup and etc. And in return, usually they leave some parts that they don't need anymore. So this is one way I'm getting some parts. Now let's return to clean the other parts. The power supply in this video is left from some PC upgrade that he has done a long ago, and he got his power supply for 10 euros. And the graphic card was on some mining rig before. He cleaned the graphic card and changed the thermal paste, and I was told that the graphic card was never repaired. And this GPU costs 15 euros. Maybe this Asus GPU looks great and cheap, but mostly the GPUs that are coming from the mining rigs are very overworked. I mean super overworked. And maybe this GPU will last for a week, maybe for a month, maybe for years. Or maybe this GPU will die right after I try to run some games. So getting something like this many times can be risky. While cleaning the GPU, I did not find any trace of repairs or overheating, which is great, but I can see that this GPU had a very long run before. But anyway, this graphic card will still work for a very long. After I finished with the graphic card, I moved to clean the power supply. The power supply looks good from the inside, and the capacitors and electronics are good. Also, 500 watts real power is going to be an out for this computer. Meanwhile, I found a case and some other stuff that I need, like a cooling fan for the CPU and CMOS battery. First, I placed the CMOS battery on the motherboard. Also, you probably didn't notice, but I always try to align anything. Even the battery text is aligned with the ports and everything else. Just a small detail. I already have this cooling fan, but I just have forgotten about it. I have some boxes from the CPUs, and in one of these boxes I left one of these cooling fans for just in case. I have done some upgrades to one Ryzen desktop, and this cooling was left behind. I remember that this cooling fan was on a PC that was in the smoking area, so the only way to clean the cooling fan is to wash it. And here I used degreaser and distillated and deionized water. Also, this water can be found at almost any gas station or in some stores for car parts and car cosmetics. After washing the cooler, again I rewash the cooler using isopropyl alcohol, and immediately I start with drying. And finally, the CPU cooling fan is looking like a new one. And now we're at the thermal paste. When I apply thermal paste over the CPU, I always cover the whole CPU with a very thin layer of the paste, and I always put one small drop from the paste in the middle of the CPU. I'm doing this because to get a perfect seal and avoid any air bubbles that can appear later while using the computer. And I'm done with the motherboard. Now the motherboard is looking much better. It's looking like a new one again, and it's ready for use. Now I move to the PC case. This PC case I got it for 30 euros. It's a small PC case, so it can be hard to do some good cable management. but for some build like this, it's great. The case has one acrylic panel and 4 RGB cooling fans. 3 fans are in the front and 1 is at the back. Also, the case has magnetic mesh to the top side and standard mesh from the bottom side. This type of PC case is good if you're making some budget build, but for something better, I will recommend getting a better PC case. First, there is not much space from the inside to make great cable management. Second, there is no space for a large GPU and some powerful hardware because of the airflow. I mean, the airflow is good, but not good enough for some high-end hardware. But for mid-range hardware or something like that, it's a perfect and great for the value. And this is the final result. For this build I spent about 85 euros on parts, except for the M2 disk and the cooling were left to me for free, so I use it in this build. It is not impossible to build something cheaper, just need time and patience. And as well some little understanding of PC hardware. I mean, you don't have to be some expert in computers, just the basic things. After I finish with building this computer, I start with additional testing, installing Windows and making some customization. Also, I found that there was a Windows 10 Pro OEM license connected to the motherboard. These license keys cannot be moved to another motherboard, so the license is tied with this computer, I mean the motherboard. Anyway, this is one more plus for this build. On this computer, I run game tests, and I go with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but with a few graphic mods. I'm using Assassin's Creed Odyssey because this game is like a sweet middle spot for testing some older and some newer hardware. Using lower settings, I can test older hardware, and using ultra settings plus some heavy mods, I can test new hardware. In this case, I go with the mixed settings, mostly medium and a few low and a few high. And under the settings the game is working pretty well. If I turn some of the light graphic mods, then the game starts lagging, which is very okay and expected, because this is an old graphic card. But without any graphic mods and medium settings and some mixed settings, the game is running with about 30 to 50 FPS, under a 1080p resolution, which is pretty okay and pretty good. In general, this computer is good for running some medium games and is great for doing some work, studying, listening to music, watching movies and videos, and etc. Well, and this is all about the super budget PC build. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope this video will give ideas and inspiration to change something, maybe fix something and make something different. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.